Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Peace be unto. The 7th chapter of the Karma Yoga of Swami Vivekananda, entitled as Freedom. The idea of freedom also implies the idea that we are in bondage. It also brings in a very peculiar idea. If we are in bondage now, then what were we before we came into this bondage? It must be something other than bondage. We do not say from bondage we have come, so that must be freedom. And no one wants to remain in a state of bondage. Now the word bondage might not make such an impact upon us. If I tell people, you are having headache, are you not? They say yes. That will make a greater impact than using the word bondage. Any type of suffering is bondage. So the idea of freedom is that always there in our minds. That's what Swamiji is trying to deal. How much deep thought Swamiji had put into this particular chapter, we would investigate very shortly. If we have to understand the meaning of the word freedom, we have to understand certain things before that. Of course, the most important thing is bondage. You want freedom from what? From bondage. But what do you mean by bondage? What is it that causes bondage? So here Swamiji brings the word law. The law of gravitation, for example. What is the meaning of law? And we say a law is a law, and it is applicable universally. It is over eternity. For example, it is not that the law of gravitation has taken its birth 20 days back. It was there, whether we knew about it or not. But where is this law? The law of gravitation. Where is it? Is it in the earth? Or is it somewhere else? No, it is not there. This whole idea of law is all an imagination in the mind. But do we accept this? So let us come back here. What Swamiji has got to say. What is meant by the word law? By law is meant the tendency of a series to repeat itself. When we see an event followed by another, or something sometimes happening simultaneously with another, we expect this sequence or coexistence to recur. Our old logicians and philosophers of the Nyaya school called this law by the name Vyapti. According to them, all our ideas of law are due to association. A series of phenomena becomes associated with things in our mind in a sort of invariable order, so that whatever we perceive at any time is immediately referred to other facts in the mind. Any one idea, or according to our psychology, any one wave that is produced in the mind stuff, chitta, must always give rise to many similar waves. This is the psychological idea of association. And causation is only as an aspect of this grand pervasive principle of association. Again, take the example of law of gravitation. What is it? If you throw, say, a stone up, what happens to it? it comes down. You throw an apple up, it comes down. So whatever you throw up, if it is a heavier object, it comes down. Whether it is in America or anywhere else, the same rule applies. Whether it is 1 billion years back or 1 billion years later, it happens. Now what is it, this association? Now association is a very powerful idea, and it governs our whole life, as it were. I do not have that much time to go deep into it. Now, for example, suppose somebody enters the shrine room with shoes on today. What would be the idea among the Hindus? Immediately, their blood pressure starts rising. But, in the church, people go with shoes inside the church. They do not know that it is Hindus. For Hindus, it is very sacred, so we should not enter with shoes like that. It is law of association. What after all is there if somebody enters with a shoe? There are so many people who are having shoes inside their mind rather than having outside. So you see how much we are constrained in so many ways. It has become such a nature, we do not even realize how much we are bound by this law of association. So our good, bad, everything. I used to feel, I am from South India. So South Indian temples, it's two types of smells are very strong there. One is that of camphor, and another is that of these ladies put on kumkum, we call it, red powder. Every temple, it is heaps and heaps of this. And this kumkum gives a particular type of strong smell. So whenever I enter some Bengali temples, neither the smell of camphor nor the smell of kumkum, I don't feel any spirituality at all there. But as soon as I enter even the smallest of some temple where the smell is coming from, immediately I feel a tremendous sense of elation. My hands automatically bow down before. This is the real temple, real God. How much we are influenced by these things. So, coming back to our example, anything that goes up. So you throw up something, and then you see that it's coming down. And after some time you associate that whatever goes up, it comes down. Then this series is associated in your mind. When it invariably happens again and again, you call it law. So where is this law? Does the earth know that I have a wonderful law called gravitation? I can bring anything down. Does it know? About almost 100 years back or 80 years back, just then the aeroplanes were being experimented, Then somebody had written a very scientifically proven article by scientists. According to the law of science, no machine can ever fly in the air. But fortunately, the Wright brothers never read that article and right ahead went with the experimentation. Law is in our minds. Always it is in our mind. And when we see this law everywhere happening, because there are local laws, there are what you call universal laws, and we feel that is inviolable, it is going to happen. Take another simple example, how irrational it could be. See, the sun rises always in the east. So the scientists give an invariable law. The sun always will rise in the east. But how do they know that tomorrow the sun may decide to rise from the south or north or west? They don't know that. Until they know it, they presume that that is going to be the law. So you cannot violate it. Now what this has got to do, this law, this association, our mind is full of these laws. The law of space, time, space and causation. Causation is another law. What is causation? If there is a cause, there would be an effect. If there is an effect, there would be a cause. What science is? Science is nothing but explanation of the law of cause and effect. Because if this law of cause and effect is not accepted, the whole science falls to the ground. Science predicts this is going to happen because of this cause, this is certainly going to happen. Suppose it doesn't happen, There was a very interesting thing. All modern people automatically by birth believe in this science, means the law of cause and effect. Now, Sri Ramakrishna also believed for practical purposes, but he never accepted it totally. So there is a belief that lightning strikes only at the very highest point, not the lowest. Suppose there are two buildings. One is very tall, another is a small building. Where do you think the lightning strikes? That is what people say. So this one day somebody was arguing with Sri Ramakrishna that lightning always strikes. This is the law. He said, no, I have seen with my own eyes. There was a tall building and there was a small man's house and the lightning struck there. What do you say? Oh, sir, that is an exception. Sri Ramakrishna immediately came, if there is one exception, the whole thing will fall down. So science, it can only hope that what it says for certainty will go on for a long time, but there is no absolute guarantee that it is going to be so. Tomorrow everything can change. 1 second everything can change. Coming back, what is the meaning of law being universal? What do you mean by being universal? Our universe is that portion of existence which is characterized by what the Sanskrit psychologists call time, space and causation. This universe is only a part of infinite existence, thrown into a peculiar mold composed of space, time and causation. This is a very profound idea. What is it that we call the world? We are in this world, we say. This is the world, we say. What do we mean by that? What we mean by that is that we are seeing a portion of the infinite through the lenses of time, space and causation, and call that little bit which is revealed to us through these lenses, this world, this creation. So because it is bound, already it is bound. The world by its very nature is already bound by time, space and causation. And therefore, there can never be any freedom in it. If you go to heaven, there is no freedom. You go to anywhere, there is no freedom. Where is freedom then? Until you get out of time, space, causation, there will be no freedom. Suppose you get rid of the idea of time. What does it mean? Timelessness. Timelessness means not a long time. You are not aware of time at all. That is eternity. Eternity is constant time, present time. No change will ever take. What is space? We say, no, this is earthly world. There is a heavenly world. So always we say, after death, where will you go? You will go to heaven. Christians have a belief, all babies directly go to heaven. How Swami used to say, if that is true, better kill every baby that is born. Because after all, you want it to be happy, isn't it? Directly, instead of suffering here, directly send it to heaven. How stupid we could be. If we are stupid by mere fact of death, can we go to heaven and enjoy heavenly bliss? No. As soon as we get rid of the idea of space, what difference does it make whether we are there or here? Do you know what hell or heaven or anything is? If there is no idea of space, if there is no idea of time, if there is no idea of causation, it's impossible. So these are the bondages, these are the filters. And our mind is nothing but time, space and causation. Or to put it another example from our scripture. There is a white screen, there is a projector. The light is falling on the screen. What do you see? Complete white screen. But actually what you are seeing is light, because it is the light that appears to, if it is completely dark, what do you see? Do you see the screen? It's only the light you are seeing. But the moment something comes in between the light and the screen, immediately the screen disappears and takes the form of that object, that form. Say a film consisting of a man. What do you see on the screen? A man. Now as soon as we see the man on the screen, for illustrative purposes I am using the word screen, you don't say I am seeing a man on the screen. What do we say? We say that we see a man. The screen has totally disappeared. Now that is what this world means. Imagine the screen seeing Brahman. without the limitations of time, space and causation. And as soon as we put a film, the screen disappears. We see a small part, some form, and all our attention is focused on that form, and we call it our world. And it is already bound, because the idea is you should see the whole thing, the entire thing, without any screen. And if you remove all this film, what remains? What do you see? Nothing, but just pure light. There is no form. There is nothing else. So this is what Swamiji is telling here. Everything that we know or can possibly know must be subject to causation. And that which obeys the law of causation cannot be free. The question has been raised, from whom this universe comes, and where does it rest, and where does it go back? And the answer has been given, that from freedom it comes, in bondage it rests, and goes back into that freedom again. So when we speak of man as no other than that infinite being which is manifesting itself, we mean that only one very small part thereof is man. This body and this mind which we see are only one part of the whole. Man has forgotten his infinite nature. So we have to regain back our own nature, and then we become free. To acquire that freedom, we have to get beyond the limitations of this universe. It cannot be found here. Perfect equilibrium, or what the Christians call the peace that passeth all understanding, cannot be had in this universe, nor in heaven, nor in any place where our mind and thoughts can go, where the senses can feel, or which the imagination can conceive, until we give up the thirst after life, the strong attachment to this our transient conditioned existence. We have no hope of catching even a glimpse of that infinite freedom beyond. The point Swamiji is driving at is, he raised the topic, what is law? Law is an association of ideas in our mind. If two events occur one after the other, and always seem to occur at the same time, somehow our mind gets the association. If this event occurs, the next event should be exactly this. That is what we call law. And by that very fact of association, we are bound. We have to get out of this association. Now, what is Swamiji leading to by this? Bringing in this topic, you know what he is bringing to? The idea of duty. We all say we are duty bound. If you are householders, you have certain duties. If you are monks, then you have certain other duties. If you are men, you have certain duties. If you are citizens of a particular country, nation, you have certain duties. If you are a young man, you have certain duties. If you are an old person, you have certain duties. If you are parents, you have certain duties. If you are a husband or wife, you have certain duties. Duty, duty, duty. What is the idea of this duty? Due to association. For example, Swamiji gives this idea. Supposing you are UK citizens and other country attacks. Some country attacks you. What is your duty as good citizens? To defend this country, because you are citizens of this country. Suppose you are soldiers. You do not see why the other country had attacked this country. Maybe this country had done something very wrong, and in retaliation, the other country has attacked this country. We do not see that. That country dared to attack our country, my country. Now, why are you so much duty bound? Supposing you belong to the other country, but living in this country, what would be your duty? Then you see the whole thing changes. If you are born as a Hindu, you are associating. I am a Hindu, I am a Hindu. So you think any other religion trying to convert you, immediately you are up in arms. Why should you convert? My religion is superior to your religion. To give another example, supposing you ask Bin Laden, which religion is superior? What do you think he will say? Islam is the superior. Supposing by mistake some fanatical Hindu had kidnapped Bin Laden and brought him up in Hinduism. And of course his nature wouldn't change. He would still be fanatic. Then what do you think he would be saying? Which religion? is superior? Hindu religion, naturally. So what is it due to? Is it because of his innate intelligence, or is it because of association? So this idea of duty, if you are married, you have a duty. If you are the child of born to particular parents, you have a duty. If a child is born to you, then you have a duty towards. If some drunkard is your uncle who brought you, carried you for a few minutes in your childhood, you have a duty to look after him. I'm telling you, Holy Mother. There was one Nail Madhav, and he carried Holy Mother in his arms. So Mother never forgot it. Even when he became sick and drunkard and all that, she still carried on. How can I forget my uncle who lovingly carried me so much that? All these are due to association. How much we are bound by this idea of association. Then should we just neglect these things and say, I have no duty. I don't care if England goes to dogs or India goes to dogs or Hinduism goes to dogs. No. The idea is do everything you have got to do, but at the same time, no, you are a bound soul, all because of association. How much this association creates misery in us is terrible. So all because of ignorance. Karma Yoga has a lot to do with that. So what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is knowing the knowledge of the secret of work. We see that the whole universe is working. For what? For salvation, for liberty. Liberty from the idea of duty. Do not identify yourself with anything. Work incessantly. Hold your mind free. And Karma Yoga says, destroy the tendency to project this tentacle of selfishness, because selfishness is nothing but the idea of association. What is the connection? Selfishness, we say, we are selfish. A selfishness means I care only for me and mine. Who am I? I do not know. This body, because we are associated with this body, then we think we have to do everything for this body. Supposing you have family members, and then what is it is your selfishness says that by all means, by hook or crook, provide for them, look after them. And supposing you come to know after 50 years, these are the people who have kidnapped you from your real parents, and then they are bringing you up here as their own. What will you think? These are examples, Suppose your family hates your good neighbor's family, and you also grow up, is it not? If your parents hate the neighbors, you also likely to end hating the neighbors. And after 50 years, when your hatred has become too much, you have given so much trouble to your neighbors because of your power and superiority, then you suddenly come to know, actually, you are the child of your neighbors. What would be your condition? All because of association. You are very selfish because this is my family. I do not want anything bad to happen to them. I want everything good for them only. You even probably go to court and rob your neighbors. And then you will come to know later on, but after all, you are the child of the neighbors, and because of you, your real parents are suffering somewhere. What would be your condition? That's exactly what happens to realized souls, that when they realize God, they understand that I belong to everybody, because I belong to God, and God is everything. So if I hate somebody, whom am I hating? God himself. Then you see a tremendous transformation takes place. So the idea of selfishness has to be destroyed. That is part of the Karma Yoga. Now comes this idea of, duty. So what is this duty? Karma Yoga says that the ordinary idea of duty is on the lower plane. Nevertheless, all of us have to do our duty. Yet we may see that this peculiar sense of duty is very often a great cause of misery. Duty becomes a disease with us. So, the only true duty is to be unattached and to work as free beings, to give up all work unto God. All duties are His actually. Sri Ramakrishna brings this up in his own beautiful way. You know how? Once some Sikh devotees happened to be in Dakshineswar with Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna was talking with them, and they all said, yeah, Bhagavan Dayamay, God is very compassionate. Immediately Sri Ramakrishna retorted, why should you call God as compassionate? They were surprised. Do you mean to say we should not call God as compassionate? No. Supposing you have begot some children. So if you are looking after your children, then everybody should say, oh, this man is very compassionate. After all, it is your duty because you have produced it. Will your neighbors are supposed to come and look after your children? God has created all of us. So what is so great if He is doing good to us? In fact, it is bounden duty. If He is doing something bad, then He is really a wicked person. So the Thakur is telling this one, you see, all are His duties. Who has created this world? He has created. Who has created your neighbors, your family, including yourself? He has created. So if He has created, whose duty is that to look after this world? It is His duty, not your duty. But blessed we are that He gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of His work. I always give this example. Supposing Queen Elizabeth invites you. Who should be grateful? Should if you go to accept the invitation and go to her place, should she be grateful to you or should you be grateful to her? Now supposing you are sitting there and suddenly the Queen says, I am thirsty, could I have some water? You are sitting nearby, you have some water nearby. Immediately you give the water to her. Should she be grateful to you or should you be grateful to her that she let you give a little opportunity to serve her? Why, Because there are 100 people waiting for that opportunity to serve her. She doesn't lack any assistance. So who should be grateful? That you are given an opportunity to serve her. Is it your blessed privilege? Similarly, if God has given us an opportunity to do some good, we have to be very grateful to Him. That is the most important idea, because the whole world is created by Him. It is not that He is sleeping. He is still very active. He is there everywhere. He knows everything. He knows what is good. And He is doing the very best. What can you do? Oh, but I see suffering. Yes. Who gave that suffering? It is God only is giving that suffering. Why is He giving the suffering? There must be a purpose. If God is awake and He knows, there must be some purpose. I give this illustration. Suppose you visit a home of somebody whom you know, and the mother is there, she has 2 children, and one child is very sick, and the mother is giving very bland food to the sick child. She kept the food there for the child to eat and she has gone away. And you entered into that room. This poor sick fellow, he is looking with worried eyes at that food. I have to take this food. And you say, what kind of mother is this mother? Is a hopeless mother. Will any mother give this kind of food? And you bring nice rasagollas and then you feed the child. Are you doing good to the child? If you see suffering in this world, you always keep this in mind. If there is suffering, it is not because God is cruel. It is because He is very kind. He is very loving. But it takes a long, long time for us to understand how could this loving God give so much of suffering in this world. It's very hard for us to understand. Because we live in a world of hallucination, maya, illusion. Even death, what is death? What is horrible death? These suicide bombers. What a horrendous condition people die. Is it a loving act of loving God, kind act of compassionate act of loving God? Ordinary people, it's very difficult for us to understand. But that is so. That is what every realized soul is telling. Oh, then should we not do anything? No, definitely you should do something. Not because you are really going to do good, but to get rid of your guilty conscience. That's all. To help yourself. So the only true duty is to be unattached. Sri Ramakrishna was once asked, what is the goal of life? What did he say? The goal of life is to realize God. What is he telling? He is telling the same thing. If you are attached, can you realize God? If you are not attached, then there is a chance by His grace you will realize God. Really speaking, you cannot be detached unless you are attached to something else. So if you have to be truly detached, what does it mean? It means you are attached to something very high. The idea of detachment has misled most of our people. It is like coldness, like indifference, as though we shouldn't care. That's not the idea. The idea is detachment means you be equal to everybody, be equally attached to everybody. Suppose a mother has 10 children. What should be her motherly duty? To be attached to all the 10 children equally. Then only she is a real good mother, isn't it? If she shows partiality, can she be a good mother? So detachment is not turning away our mind, but detachment is to extend our love, our whatever we can do to people, equal-sightedness. Some other she, that is the name given. What is duty after all? It is really the impulsion of the flesh, of our attachment. And when an attachment has become established, we call it duty. Swamiji's words are very, very powerful. It is, so to say, a sort of chronic disease. When it is acute, we call it disease. When it is chronic, we call it nature. It's a disease. So when attachment becomes chronic, we baptize it with the high-sounding name of duty. This is what happens. Generations together, we see something being repeated again and again. For example, I will give you religious duty. If you are a devotee, then you are, or if you are a Muslim, religiously you have to go and do namaz 5 times a day as a good Muslim. Suppose you do only 4 times a day. Will you be a good Muslim? So why did this idea come that you are a bad Muslim if you pray? Suppose you are praying to God all the time in your mind, not 5 times, but all the 24 hours. But you don't do this namaz 5 times. Will you be a bad Muslim? See how this, because it is there written in a book, because others are doing it from generations together, so we call it by the name of duty. It is the duty of every Muslim to do namaz 5 times, irrespective of where he is, including in the narrow passage of the aeroplane, blocking everybody going to the toilet. You will have to do namaz. Until he finishes leisurely his namaz, you cannot stir. You cannot open your mouth, you cannot criticize, you cannot do anything. Just imagine if you have got some diarrhea at that time. What would be your condition? Karma yogins must throw this idea of duty overboard. We are all simply working out His will and have nothing to do with rewards and punishments. Seek no praise, no reward for anything you do. No sooner do we perform a good action, then we begin to desire credit for it. So what karma yogins must find out is, it's not your duty. It's not your duty because you have nothing to do with it. You have not created this world, and you are powerless. You don't have any power to do anything in this world. It is the duty of God to do it because He has created it. Then what is your karma yogin's duty? You do what you can do without attaching that label, I am doing my duty. That's the worst misery of a duty. The idea is be completely free. There's a funny thing, once Sri Ramakrishna was narrating that I was sitting there and I closed my eyes and I started meditating on the Divine Mother. Suddenly the idea came to my mind, what? Only if I close my eyes, it is meditation. If I may open my eyes, what is it? It is not meditation. How foolish we are. Sri Ramakrishna's photographs you have seen like these hands. What is that state? Samadhi state, right? Sri Ramakrishna is eating nice rasagullas. What is that state? Not samadhi. How much more foolish can we be? Samadhi means seeing God directly. So when he is eating rasagullas, he has forgotten God totally, completely, isn't it? God is out. Is it the idea? How can a man forget God? 24 hours he is only seeing God. He can never forget God. Is it right? Then what is his state he is in, whether he is eating or sleeping or talking, getting angry? Imagine, Swamiji was once traveling in a ship and there was this stupid young Christian missionary. He started abusing Hindus. And Swamiji gave me warning, do not speak. That man didn't care. You know what Swamiji did? He went and caught hold of his throat and said, one word more, I will throw you in the ocean. After that, that fellow never came out onto the boat. My point is, what was that state Swamiji was in when he caught hold of the throat of the young missionary? Do you call it samadhi? That's our foolishness. Do you think a man, once he has gone into attained samadhi, God realization, again he comes down and forgets the whole lot? What's your idea of God realization? Have you any idea? He can never forget God. Then why does he do that? Like a loving mother, takes away forcibly something which is no good for the child. So everything that these great people do, it is for the good of other people because they have nothing to gain. They see God, but they act as it is necessary to act. A surgeon is cutting taking out, incising and taking out some part of the patient's flesh. What do you think? Is a butcher? Is doing it for the good of the patient, for making him healthy. So why is it not our duty? Swami Vivekananda says, the greatest men in the world have passed away, unknown. The Buddhas and the Christ that we know are but second-rate heroes in comparison with the greatest men. Millions like you and me think that we are great people in the world, but we all die. And in 5 minutes, the world forgets us. Swamiji was very optimistic. 5 minutes. What do you think will happen to the world when we die? Do you think the slightest change is going to happen? It will go on jolly well without us. What is the good you can do to the world? Nothing. You cannot do anything. So, the idea of duty, forget about it. What is the idea? I am blessed that I am given a small opportunity to do a little bit of good. That is for my own good. Service to the world, looking upon it as a manifestation of God. Shiva Jnane Jiva Shiva. That is what it says. So, Karma Yogins must forget about this idea of duty. Then comes freedom. So, through all these, first a Karma Yogi must give up the fruits, means expectations, means dependency. If I don't get this, I would be miserable. If I get this, I'll be very happy. No. You just do what you can do. The fruit will come. There is a misunderstanding that Karma Yogi doesn't get the fruits. Yes, he gets the fruits. You see, if a Karma Yogi is hungry and he eats food in a yogic way without any attachment, will he not become strong? Is it not a fruit? Will he not become happy? If you give me, I am a great Karma Yogi, you know. You know why? I don't expect any result by my talks. I just do it as a service to God, that's all. I don't expect any change to happen. Supposing you feed me a nice sweet meat, rasgulla, do you think I won't be happy? I will be happy. So that's not the idea. The idea is don't depend. If something good comes, that's fine. Something doesn't happen, that is also fine. I have got to do what I have got to do. That's it. That is the idea of giving up the fruits. Many people tout this, oh, I am doing karma yoga. No, that's not, you are not doing karma yoga, because it is not merely the giving up the idea of fruits. Actively we have to develop unselfishness. Unselfishness means doing good. There are two types of expressions of unselfishness. One is, I do not expect anything from you, therefore I am not disappointed. That's fine as far as it goes, but it's very negative. What is the other expression is, I must do something good to you. If I simply sit in the easy chair and then go on thinking about God, that will not do. I have to show that I am unselfish. If somebody is in need, I should try to do. Not with the idea that I am doing any good, but I am serving God with that idea. When we go on doing this, there is no duty. We have to do everything in freedom, and we should not be attached to a country, or to a language, to a religion, to a particular religious institution, particular norms and other things. Then the idea is slowly we are getting rid of bonds one after the other. But at the same time, we are also growing in unselfishness and in control of the mind, harmony, peace, joy, all these things we grow. The idea is that we are slowly evolving towards freedom. So the next chapter is the ideal of Karma Yoga. What is the ideal? What is the goal? What would we like to achieve by the practice of Karma Yoga? Swamiji says, first, the grandest idea in the religion of the Vedanta is that we may reach the same goal by different paths. And these paths I have generalized into 4. Those of work, love, psychology and knowledge. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga and Gnana Yoga. Now, second idea that he says is, what is the goal of all these paths? So, one of the most important ideas, if you want to be a Karma Yogin, then you have to accept this idea that anybody can reach the same goal by any path suitable to him or her. If you are fanatical, and unfortunately, fanaticism seems to be embedded in most of us. For example, a devotee thinks no other path is suitable. That is the superior path. And a man who is doing works, he thinks that is the only path, superior path. If somebody is sitting and meditating, oh, what this selfish fellow. He is only working out for his own selfish salvation. He doesn't care for other people. That is a kind of fanaticism. That is not good. A true Karma Yogi says, this is my path. Maybe that is the other person's path. I respect equally that person also. That is the first idea. Second idea is, where does every religion take us? Every path take us? What is the goal? The goal is, as I understand, it is freedom. Everything that we perceive around us is struggling towards this freedom. From the atom to the man, from the insentient, lifeless particle of matter to the highest existence of the human soul, the whole universe is in fact the result of the struggle for freedom. marvelous idea. The world as it is now is the result of struggle. Cease struggle, death comes. Because of this struggle, that evolution is taking place, not only on the biological level, but on the intellectual level, on the spiritual level. And all this efflorescence of knowledge that we see, explosion of knowledge, is the result of not sitting idly, but tremendous struggle against odds. Today man can travel to the moon, to the Mars, to other planets. How do you think it has come about? As a result of struggling against the law of gravity and say, I must get out of this bondage of gravity, I must rise above this gravity. The result of that struggle is this tremendous variety and freedom. So much of freedom we have. That we are not using the freedom is a different matter. That should not be associated with the struggle. So all that we see in the universe has for its basis this one struggle towards freedom. The freedom which the saint seeks is very different from that which the robber seeks. The freedom loved by the saint leads him to the enjoyment of infinity, unspeakable, incomparable bliss, while that on which the robber has set his heart only forges another bonds for his soul. But both are working under the same impulse. The impulse is the same, the struggle towards freedom. The saint is oppressed with the knowledge of his condition of bondage and he wants to get rid of it. So he worships God. The thief is oppressed with the idea that he doesn't possess certain things and he tries to get rid of that want to obtain freedom from it. So he steals. But freedom is the one goal of all nature. So this freedom, this struggle for freedom, it is the groundwork of all morality, of unselfishness, which means getting rid of the idea that men are the same as their little body. When we see a man doing good work, helping others, it means he cannot be confined within the limited circle of me and mine. So we are talking about freedom. The whole universe is trying to reach that goal called freedom. What is this freedom? How do we understand it? Unselfishness. Freedom from selfishness. What is the root cause of selfishness? Me and mine. Where from this me and mine comes? Body and mind. So do not associate yourself with body and mind. You are free. If you get rid of the idea, I am not the body, I am not the mind, what remains? I am the reality, I am the self, I am God. It is this idea of body that breeds selfishness, that brings on the idea of bondage. Karma Yoga is the attaining through unselfish work of that freedom, which is the goal of all human nature. Every selfish action, therefore, retards our reaching the goal, and every unselfish action takes us towards that goal. That's why the only definition that can be given of morality is this. That which is selfish is immoral, and that which is unselfish is moral. Swami Vivekananda has given a most marvelous definition. Dharma and adharma. What is dharma? Dharma has been translated into various words. That is, you are righteous, you are dutiful, you are good, and all that. No. Even it is said, you are unselfish. All this is dharma. Whatever is opposed is adharma. But there is one criteria. What is that? That which takes you towards freedom. That is dharma. Whatever binds you is adharma. Or if you want to put it even simpler words, that which makes you joyous, happy, blissful, that is dharma. Because only dharma can do it. Whatever brings on suffering, that is adharma. Absolutely. The goal of all nature is freedom, and freedom is to be obtained only by perfect unselfishness. Karma Yoga, therefore, is a system of ethics and religion intended to attain freedom through unselfishness and by good works. What is the speciality of Karma Yoga then, as compared to other yogas? The Karma Yogi need not believe in any doctrine whatever. He may not believe even in God, may not ask what his soul is, nor think of any metaphysical speculation. He has got his own special aim of realizing selflessness. And when he attains that, he attains to the same goal where the Gnani reaches through his reasoning and the Bhakta reaches through his love. All yogas take one to the same goal. This is the conclusion of Swami Vivekananda's last chapter on Karma Yoga. And before closing, he again comes back to give a little bit emphasis to the idea. Can we really do good to the world? In an absolute sense, no. In a relative sense, yes. No permanent or everlasting good can be done to the world. If it could be done, the world would not be this world. You know how many Buddhas, how many Christs, how many Ramas, how many Krishnas? According to Hinduism, millions of avatars have come into this world. If it is true that they could make the world good, then today the world would have been a far better place. But now, so he says, we cannot add happiness to this world. Similarly, we cannot also add pain to it. The sum total of the energies of pleasure and pain displayed here on earth will be the same throughout. When we understand that fact, the fanatic idea that we cherish, that we can do good to the world, we can change it, we can make it better in any way, disappear. There's a beautiful song, Sri Rama Bhajo, Dukkha me, Sukha me. Worship Lord Rama in happiness and in suffering. बहुवीर हुए बलवान हुए कितने न महीपतु मान हुए अब कौन कहाँ कुछ ध्यान धरो Sri Rama Bhajo Dukkha me. How many great heroes, how many great emperors, how many great people have not been born into this world and gone without a trace. Has this world changed a little bit? Kuch dhyana dharo. Think a little bit. Sri Rama Bhajo Dukkha me Sukha me. He didn't say only Sukha me, because this world consists of both happiness and misery. Accept it. That is going to be like that. This is the first idea. Nobody can add a little bit of happiness to this world, neither can they add a little bit of unhappiness. Each one of us, we only add our own happiness or our own unhappiness. The second idea is that of equality. Says we come into the world with unequal endowments, and there is no way that we can make this world equal. What is the idea of all these great statesmen, economists, politicians, scientists? Through their particular fields, they will make heaven of this world where everybody will be happy. Everybody will be having equally everything. My God. It's just the boredom, wherever you look, the same face. Just imagine, once it is enough. Whole day, for eternity, go on seeing the same face. You eat the same food. She said, that when you go to heaven, boiled potatoes will be served every day. But if you go to hell, then every morning some dishes, new dishes, afternoon new dishes, and evening new dishes will be given. Just imagine, if everybody is equal, then who is good and who is bad? Who is holy and who is unholy? Who is rich and who is poor? Who is excellent and who is stupid? It can never be, because we are never born equally at any time. This world will always remain the same. If we understand that, our fanaticism will disappear. We all think that when we have done a certain duty, we shall be at rest. This is another misnomer we all cherish. What is it? As many Hindus cherish, if young people are trying to be spiritual, parents say, oh, we are also spiritual people. Why do you want to become a monk? That's the first idea. Second idea is, if a young man is trying to be doing japa, prayer, meditation, oh, you are a young man. Is this the time for practicing spiritual disciplines? When you are retired, you will have plenty of time. Then you can go on doing spiritual practices. The idea is, many times our unconscious mind acts in the form of good friend to distract us from our goal. It says, don't think of God and other things now. This duty, once it is finished, you can nischinta hoye, you can call on God. But then what happens? As soon as this duty is over, this wave subsides, another huge wave comes. Yeah. Now, it is my experience, I have to write something. So I thought today somebody is coming to see me and tomorrow I am free, so I will not write today. I am very happy not to write. And then tomorrow morning 10 people come to see me. We all think that when we have done a certain duty, we shall be at rest. But before we have done a part of the duty, another is already in waiting. There are only two ways to get out of it. One is to give up all concerns with the machine, to let it go and stand aside, to give up our desires. The other way is plunge into this world, learn the secret of karma yoga and get out of the machine. So the only way is to give up all the fruits of work, worship the Lord through your work and to get out of this world. And in conclusion, Swami Vivekananda says, let me tell you in conclusion a few words about one man who actually carried this teaching of karma yoga into practice. That man is Buddha. Says such a great man the world has rarely seen, because he never talked about God, never talked about self, never talked about all this japa and all those things. All that he said is, be good and do good and you will reach the goal. Such a tremendous karma yogi in this world. He was ready to give up his life even for the sake of a bird, for the sake of a lamb. So to conclude our talks on this wonderful topic called karma yoga. First, freedom is the goal of life and goal of all evolution, goal of the whole universe. In Sri Ramakrishna's words, the goal of life is God realization. Second, this goal can be attained by any path, any yoga, any religion. Third, in this age, bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, combined with karma yoga, is the way. And fourth, the way out of karma is through practice of karma yoga. Fifth, all works must be done sincerely, with mindfulness, with intelligence, as worship of God. So karma yoga must fulfill four of these conditions. First, give up the expectation of fruits. Second, be unselfish. Third, be unattached. And fourth, do every action as worship of God. That is true karma yoga. And lastly, no man can attain to the highest goal of freedom without the grace of God. But if we do our part, God's grace will lead us to that ultimate freedom. So we come to the end of karma yoga. Next week we shall be starting series of talks on Swami Vivekananda's Bhakti Yoga. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.